from 1955 to 1975, was the era of the Space Cold War for both America and Russia. In 1955, both of them announced that they would send their rockets into space. On October 4, 1957, Russia became capable of sending its first rocket into space. And 4 months later, America's Explorer 1 was launched into space. In November 1957, Russia sent its second rocket into space, and in 1959, Russia successfully landed its first spacecraft on the Moon. In April 1961, Russia became the first country to send a human, Yuri Gagarin, into space, orbiting the Earth. And he is obviously a hero after this. But this space-time Cold War between America and Russia continues. So far, it seems like Russia has been one step ahead of America in various aspects. In this context, on May 25, 1961, then-President John F. Kennedy announced that they would send the first person to the Moon. They also claim that the first American will land on the Moon by the end of the 1960s.
To achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the Moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
In June 1963, Russia sent the first woman into space, and her name was Valentina Tereshkova. A few years later, in 1965, the first Russian performed a spacewalk. And the duration of a spacewalk was 12 minutes and 5 seconds. On July 16, 1969, America launched Apollo 11.
2, 1, 0, all engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Its crew members were Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. On July 20, the lunar lander named Eagle touched down on the surface of the Moon.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
And Neil Armstrong uttered his historic words.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And the entire world celebrates this joyous occasion that humanity has set foot on the Moon.
In 1969, the public had little reason to question mankind's historic first step on the Moon. After all, the achievement was a celebration of technological supremacy. America had finally won the space race.
And the Soviet Union accepted the American moon landing. Are you constantly curious? Then why not subscribe to get insights for more videos like this one? And ring the bell for more fascinating content. The dark side or far side of the Moon. We need to first break the myth about the dark sides of the Moon. Many people use the phrase, the dark side of the Moon, to describe something mysterious and unknown. On October 7, 1959, the Soviet spacecraft Lunar 3 photographed for the very first time the dark side of the Moon. This proves that there's no permanent dark side of the Moon, but rather a side we don't usually see from Earth due to its rotation. The dark side of the Moon is supposed to be the side we never see, the side that faces away from Earth. This side of the Moon faces the cold, black expanse of space. So what exactly is the dark side of the Moon, and why is it a misleading phrase? The term dark side for the Moon is kind of tricky. It might make you think one side is always in the dark, but that's not true. The Moon has a day side and a night side, just like Earth. The side we see from Earth is called the near side, and it's not always in daylight, it changes as the Moon moves around Earth. The other side, called the far side, or dark side, always faces away from us, so we can't see it, even when it's sunny over there. Both sides of the Moon have their own day and night, but we can only see the near side from Earth. The Moon takes about 29 days to go around the Earth and spin around itself. That's why we always see the same side of the Moon from Earth. Gravity from Earth slows down the Moon's spinning. It's like a dance where they move together. In the future, Earth will spin just like the Moon goes around it, so we'll always face the Moon. But this doesn't mean we'll always see the Moon, because its shape, like a full or new moon, depends on its position compared to the sun, not its spinning. So, there's no dark side that never sees the sun, but there's a side we haven't explored much yet, the far side. We might need special towers to talk to that side. The South Pole of the Moon. In fact, the South Pole of the Moon is of particular interest to scientists and space agencies, because it contains permanently shadowed regions within craters. These shadowed areas are thought to be potential locations for the accumulation of water ice. The question that arises is, what is the need to go so far to the far side or the South Pole? The straightforward answer to this is to make future space missions easier by overcoming challenges. Getting a rocket out of Earth's gravity is a significant challenge for any space mission. Boosters are attached to a rocket to provide additional thrust. This entire process consumes an excessive amount of fuel. The amount of fuel burned in the first few seconds of a rocket's launch varies widely depending on the rocket's design and purpose, with larger rockets like the Saturn V burning approximately 15,000 kilograms per second during liftoff, while smaller rockets have different fuel consumption rates. So now, you can estimate that until the rocket reaches space, it will burn a considerable amount of fuel. To make these challenges easier, scientists have a solution. Why not establish a base on the Moon? Because the Moon has very low gravity, if we need to go on space missions from there, it can be done with a minimum amount of fuel. The problem, however, is that on the Moon, the question is where the fuel will come from. How can the requirements for this base be fulfilled? As we know, there is apprehension of water ice at the South Pole of the Moon. So, we can separate hydrogen and oxygen from water. And both of these gases can be used as rocket fuel. And this water can also be used for drinking purposes in the base. Additionally, helium-3 can also be present here, which can be used for generating energy through nuclear reactors on the Moon. And it can also be brought to Earth because, naturally, helium-3 is very rare on Earth. For these reasons, powerful countries are interested in going to the Moon for scientific research. What do you think? Is there anything we missed? Let us know in the comments. Check out these other clips from Get Insights. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell for our latest content.